What is going on in the world right now has never happened in the history of the world.
People have to realize things are really bad because you might not just lose your money, but you'll lose your freedom too. How much worse is this crisis going to be?
The worst economic times in my lifetime.
In 1930, GDP fell by 8.5%. We call that a depression. In 2009, real GDP contracted by 2.5%. We call that a recession. This year, annualized GDP contracted by 33%. What would you call that?
A disaster.
In the Great Depression, what happened was businesses closed because they closed. This was shut down by the government.
In 2009, we had the H1N1 virus in America. Well, they didn't close McDonald's. They didn't close the airports. This time, for whatever reason, politicians and academics and journalists seem to have overreacted and said we have to close the whole world. We've had many epidemics. Never before have we closed the whole world. So in my view, they made mistakes, and that's what has made this so horrible. But we had a lot of debt as well. And so now we have more debt. That huge debt is going to leave us all with worse problems. The printing presses are running at unbelievable speed. Every day, the Bank of Japan goes to work and cranks up the printing presses. And as he said, we will print unlimited. That's his word, unlimited amounts of money. That's happening all over the world.
People have been lulled into a false sense of security, complacency, in thinking that we can print all this money and not have any negative consequences. Well, they're going to be even worse now than they would have been had we had them a decade ago. There are two things that are going on now in the economy. On the supply side, we're having a reduction in supply because if fewer people are working, well, they're not producing products that they produced in the past. They're not providing services that they were out there providing in the past. So the supply of stuff is going down. And certainly, a lot of the stuff that we were importing from countries like China, they're not making as much stuff anymore to export to us. They might consume it themselves. So we're not going to be able to import as much stuff. We're not going to make as much stuff. So there's less stuff. At the same time, there's more money. People have more money now, in many cases, than they had before when they were making stuff. Now they're getting checks for doing nothing. So you have more money and less stuff. Obviously, consumer prices are going to go way up. Look what happened to airfares. In the weeks that immediately followed COVID-19, ticket prices collapsed. The airlines were selling tickets. I remember a guy who was working for me was looking at tickets from San Juan to Boston. It was $3 to get a ticket. Now that's less than the Uber ride to get to the airport because nobody was buying tickets. So they were just giving them away because the planes were going to fly anyway and the seats were empty. Now, I just looked, we were looking at buying tickets to go back to Connecticut. I've never seen them this high now because what's happened is the airlines canceled a bunch of flights. So now the supply of flights is down. Delta, which used to have flights every day, now there's only a few a week. What happens is even though the demand to fly went down, right, not as many people were buying tickets, the supply of seats went down even more. So then if you really wanted to fly, it cost you. And so that's what's going to happen in this recession. Demand is going to go down. Everybody is focusing on that. People are going to be unemployed. People aren't making as much money. People have to start rebuilding their savings now that they had a wake-up call. Hey, I'm broke. I can't pay my rent. So people are going to cut back on their spending. And so demand will be down, but supply is going to go down even more. This thing is going to implode, and it's going to implode soon. The party is going to end. The dollar is going to crash. And a tsunami of inflation that we've been exporting for years and years is going to come hitting us, our shores, and we're going to see the cost of living go through the roof.
You want to know how to be a successful investor? The answer is stay with what you know. Don't listen to me. Don't listen to TV people, internet people. Just stay with what you know. If I told you you can only have 20 investments in your life, you would be very careful. You wouldn't be jumping in and out, listening to hot tips every day, every month. You would stay with what you know and you would become a successful investor. Everybody watching this knows a lot about something, whether it's fashion or cars or sports or something. When you see something that you know is going to be successful and exciting, don't just say, oh, that's going to be great. Don't tell all you. Then you go and you do your research and you figure out how to and if you should invest and how to invest, and then you invest. You will know it long before I will, or long before other people in the investment community. You will also know when to sell, because you will know when something's going to change again. Nobody likes to hear it. Everybody wants a hot tip. Everybody wants to be rich this month. In those days, we did nothing but focus and concentrate and dig deep and dig deep and dig deep.
I think the real problem is people are now terrified.
We're going to come out of this better. I don't know how, but it's called metamorphosis. You know, metamorphosis is like when a caterpillar turns into a butterfly. And the definition of metamorphosis, you can look it up in the dictionary, is the transformation from an immature form to an adult form. In other words, grow up. So for some of us, this crisis will grow up. We'll come out of it anti-fragile. We'll come out stronger. It's really the most exciting time. It's also dangerous.